Hey everyone, there's a new Superman movie in theaters, so I figured it's a good time to update my ranking. And I will also be including Supergirl, the movie, not the show, because I have watched that since the last time I did this ranking. So that makes 9 movies in total, stretching all the way back to 1978. Spoiler alert. Starting off at rock bottom, number 9 is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Have you ever seen a really bad movie from a director you previously respected? That's this movie for me. How the hell did the director of The Entity give us something this bad? Okay, to be fair, he also made Iron Eagle, and that movie is also ass. But it's not nearly this bad. I have really nothing genuinely nice to say about this movie. It has no redeeming qualities. The cast does their best, but they have nothing to work with. The plot is half new crap, half crappy retreads of the previous movie, all tied together with the most anvilicious anti-nuclear weapon message you could possibly have. I love Christopher Reeves, but you can tell he wasn't much of a writer. No offense. The special effects somehow look worse than the first movie, which came out 9 years earlier. 9! Special effects are supposed to get better with time, but that's what happens when you slash the budget. Here's the thing, the first movie is 2.5 hours long. And it feels like about 2 hours. This movie is about 90 minutes, and it feels like 3 hours. Then there's Nuclear Man. With the right script and director, he could have been a great villain, but instead he was awful. And you know the worst part? His actor, or at least his physical actor, Mark Pillow, never acted in anything else after this. His one IMDb credit is Nuclear Man. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. The score is 0.5 out of 5. Half a star. Number 8 is Superman 3. This movie has one main thing going for it. Evil Superman. Even though he's not fully evil, he's more just a petty douchebag with superpowers. But still, that whole sequence of him going around fucking things up and culminating in the confrontation with Clark where he splits apart, that's all awesome.
I can give as good as I get. Yeah? All right. Come on, you come on, come on, come on, come on!
And I will say, having seen this movie again since my previous ranking, some of the comedy works. Yeah, most of the comedy does not. The opening scene especially, none of that works. It's just slapstick with no logic behind it, with no structure. It's just slapstick for the sake of it, and it's bad. But there are a few jokes that actually work. And most of them come from Richard Pryor, who was otherwise wasted in this movie. And I mean like potential wasted, not drunk wasted. I do agree that the lady getting transformed by the machine is legitimately creepy. It also just kind of comes out of nowhere. So, mixed bag. And if nothing else, Christopher Reeve, as always, was putting his whole ass into this performance, and Zeus bless him for it. There's one other thing I like about this movie, and that's that we actually get to see the real Clark Kent for a few minutes. When Superman goes back to Smallville, Christopher Reeve was excellent at differentiating between Superman and Clark Kent. For a little bit in Smallville, we get to see that those are both kind of fronts that he puts up, and we get, for a little bit, when he's interacting with people he knows from his past, we get to see the real Clark Kent. And that was kind of cool. My score is 1.5 out of 5. Number 7 is Supergirl. This movie has two things going for it: Helen Slater and Faye Dunaway. Oh, and also, it has one thing going for it that it's not really something it does, but rather something it doesn't do. All of the other Superman sequels from this era, Superman 2, 3, and 4, all introduce powers that they basically pull out of their asses that were never in any of the comics. Like in Superman 2, at least in the Richard Lester version of Superman 2, when he pulls the S off his chest and throws it at Non, and it does nothing but inconvenience him for half a second. This movie doesn't do that. This sticks to Supergirl's established comic book powers, and I will give it credit for that. And much like Christopher Reeve, Helen Slater does a really good job of differentiating between Supergirl and her alter ego. And Faye Dunaway is just having a blast, which is why it's a shame that this movie more or less tanked her career. Or at least, okay, the combination of this movie and Mommy Dearest more or less tanked her career. Like, that movie started the ball rolling, this movie was the final nail in the coffin. And it's a shame.
You've had your fun, Selina. The game is finished.
Hardly. One false step, Bluebird. And even if you don't, your friends will get the point.
Hey, no!
I don't like this.
Don't worry, Lucy. Don't worry.
I wouldn't if I were you.
Well, you're not me.
Quick, get out of the way! Into the outlook over there! Come on! Hurry, Jimmy! Out! Hurry!
As far as the movie goes, it's not terrible. It's meh. Unfortunately, the plot is kind of all over the place, the pacing is off. The music is good, but it's not nearly as good as it was in the other Superman movies of the era. The special effects are fine. They're not nearly as bad as they were in Superman 4, but they're definitely not up to the standards of the first two movies. But overall, this one is... it's a mess, but like I said, the two leads, the protagonist and antagonist, they make it bearable. My score is 2 out of 5. Moving on to the actual good movies, number 6 is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. As always, going off the Ultimate Edition because the theatrical cut is hot garbage. Wonder Woman is like the only role where I actually thought Gal Gadot was well cast. Everything else I've ever seen her in, she just... no. But yeah, she is delightful in this. Batfleck is badass. Henry Cavill is awesome. You got Jeremy Irons, Lawrence Fishburne, Amy Adams, Holly Hunter. They're all solid. I mean, say what you will about Zack Snyder, he knows how to craft an action scene. The warehouse fight is legitimately one of the best fight scenes in any superhero movie. The visuals are on point. There are so many moments that feel like they were ripped straight from a comic panel. Musical score is great. The main characters and the villain each have their own distinct theme, and the build-up to the warehouse fight is fantastic. This movie is too long. There's definitely some padding, some stuff that could have been cut, and it's a little too dour. There's not enough levity here. I like that they're trying to do something different with a darker take on things, but they didn't have to go that hard. My score is 3 out of 5. Number 5 is Superman Returns. This one is perfectly average. It's not good enough to be great, and it's not bad enough to suck. It's just right there in the middle. Brandon Routh is really fucking good as Superman. Kevin Spacey kills it as Lex Luthor. It's a shame he turned out to be a piece of shit. There's not enough action, but the action we get is pretty great. The special effects genuinely hold up for the most part. Bryan Singer gives this movie an interesting new visual style that still feels in line with the previous movies, or at least with the first two. It's just a shame he turned out to be such a piece of shit. I don't know, I like Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane. I know she's kind of divisive, but I like her. I think she plays the role well enough. She could have done better, she could have been worse. Musical score is definitely a step up from Superman 3 and 4. That music does a lot of work carrying this movie. Score is 3 out of 5. Number 4 is Man of Steel. Look, say what you will about Zack Snyder, he did something that at least one other, arguably better director failed to do. He launched the DCEU. Green Lantern was supposed to do that 2 years earlier, and that was directed by Martin Campbell, the guy who gave us GoldenEye and Casino Royale. And that just failed miserably. Henry Cavill finally gives us a buff Superman, which is awesome, and I love his portrayal. I know some people complain, and I get it. It's a different take on the character. The original is about Superman the Boy Scout. This is about Superman the immigrant. And I know people complain because Superman has always valued life. He avoids killing whenever possible. Yeah, this is how he gets to that point. He learns to value life because he's forced to take one to save others. And here's the thing. In Superman 2, after the Kryptonians are depowered, he just kills them and then just walks away. Here, he's tormented by having to kill Zod. You can see the anguish and regret on his face, and you hear it when he screams.
Never.
People go on and on about how, oh, that was the worst thing in any Superman movie. Motherfucker, have you seen the second movie? Just saying. And the rest of the cast is solid. You get Amy Adams, Russell Crowe, Lawrence Fishburne. Kevin Costner, I know he gets some flack. I blame the writers. His performance was on point. And Diane Lane is delightful. Michael Shannon is just... I don't know if he's better than Terrence Stamp as General Zod, but he definitely makes this version of the character stand out. There are two distinct versions of the same character, and that is where he succeeds. And Ancha Trow as Feora Alt somehow manages to outshine him. She is delightful. The action here is fantastic. Even if maybe the climax kind of goes on a little too long, but It's well shot, it's well edited, it's visceral and exciting, and the flying feels more real than ever. Superman's first flight in this movie is nothing short of epic, and Snyder actually shows restraint by not really using slow motion. Instead he uses snap zooms, where like instead of cutting to a close-up, he'll very rapidly zoom in to a close-up, and he did something similar in 300. And it's awesome. The musical score is one of Hans Zimmer's best. It does sometimes fall into kind of more generic blockbuster territory, unfortunately, but it's not enough to ruin it for me. The score is 3.5 out of 5. Number 3. Superman 2. The Richard Lester version of this movie is already pretty great, but it has its issues, and the Donner cut is definitely a step up. The Donner cut has its own problems, but it's better. And the special effects are a step up from the first movie, and they were already great there. The flying sequences are better, and the fight between Superman and the Kryptonians for the era was fantastic.
Take him! He's yours. Come on, kill him!
Superman!
Terrence Stamp absolutely kills it as General Zod. He is hammering it up, and it works here. I love the interactions between him and Ursa and Non. Those are just so fun to watch. The Lester version has a lot of things I don't like some of the slapstick stuff and just randomly throwing the S at Non. The Donner cut has one or two things that were actually good from the Lester version that it cuts, but as a whole, it's better. It is a step up. Like, I'm really not a fan of Superman using a kiss to wipe Lois's memory. Just, no, don't do that. The score is 4.5 out of 5. Number 2 is Superman, the original. This movie is a classic for a reason. Sure, the special effects haven't all aged well, but considering this movie is over 45 years old, I'd be surprised if they did. Here's the thing, a lot of them do hold up, and for the time, they were groundbreaking. The acting and directing and the writing are all great. Like I said earlier, this movie's like 2.5 hours long, but it feels like it's about 2 hours. This movie's a classic for a reason, y'all. The characters are iconic, the musical is legendary, the movie as a whole is just fun. Like I said, this is Superman the Big Blue Boy Scout. Christopher Reeve, who I've already sang his praises, he's outstanding. Margot Kidder as Lois is delightful. Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor is just such iconic casting. But then you have, like, smaller roles. Like Ned Beatty as the Otis, the comic relief. You have Jackie Cooper as Perry White. And you also have a rare instance of a heart attack being portrayed accurately in a Hollywood movie. Glenn Ford actually did research into how it feels and what happens when you have a heart attack. And he portrayed it accurately, to my knowledge.
But then a man gets older and he thinks very differently and things get very clear. And there's one thing I do know, son, and that is you are here for a reason. I don't know whose reason, whatever the reason is, you know. Maybe it's because, I don't know. It's, but I do know one thing. It's not to score touchdowns. Huh?
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. I'll race you to it. Yeah.
You will.
Come on. Come on, Pop. Run. Come on. Come on. Move. Yeah. Go. Come on, run. Hey, Barron. Come on, Barron. Good boy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the tagline was right. You will believe a man can fly. And this movie and the sequel, those special effects, hot damn. Score is 5 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is Superman 2025. Look, here's the thing. Here's why this movie works, is that it takes aspects of the old movies, and it takes stuff from the comics, and it combines them together into something new, and the meld, that composite just works. For one, it kind of takes the whole Lex Luthor trying to get land, or trying to get real estate, takes that and kind of turns it on its head, and also kind of plays it more realistically. In the OG and Superman Returns, his plan always came off as like, huh? Like, that's the end result you're looking for? What? Okay. But here, it actually seems a bit more feasible and kind of makes sense. And I like that we're back to the roots of, no, he's just a corrupt corporate executive with a grudge against Superman. And even that's changed, because, like, here, he even says he's fully aware of his envy for Superman. He hates Superman because Superman makes mankind look weak. This movie succeeds where Black Adam kind of failed, which is having other superheroes on the side. And I liked that aspect in Black Adam, but it wasn't done as well as it could have been. This movie fucking nailed the casting. David Corenswet just nails this role. Kind of takes some cues from Christopher Reeve, but doesn't feel like he's trying to imitate Christopher Reeve. This is his version of Superman. I love Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. I love their dynamic. This is something we haven't really seen all that much, where they're in a relationship and she knows who he is, but the relationship is still new and kind of on rocky ground, and I love that whole aspect of it. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is just... Yeah, like I said, they absolutely nailed the corrupt corporate executive side of things with him. He is delightful.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be...
Lex, I tried to stop him.
It's fine, Heather. Superman, we finally meet. Would you like a coffee?
Where's the dog?
Dog?
The dog, Luther! You took the dog!
That's right, you get all of this.
Where's the dog?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
He's just a dog.
I don't know what dog you're talking about. Ugly dog and a cape.
What did you say?
Among the supporting cast, we have Edi Gathegi, Darwin from X-Men First Class, as Mr. Terrific, and so there's him, and there's Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, and there's Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl. They're like a super team who's already established, and who are sponsored by Maxwell Lord, played by Sean Gunn. The three of them are just delightful. Guy Gardner, he's in that Tony Stark category, where he's a dick, but you also love him. Isabella Merced is a national treasure and must be protected at all costs. Like I said, Mr. Terrific is the standout of the three. He gets an action scene basically all to himself where he's fighting off some of Luthor's goons, and it might be the best fight scene in the whole movie. And we have Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho. He brings some depth to that role. He brings some gravitas to that role. He is fantastic. And now, I'll admit, I don't read a lot of comics, so I don't know if some of these characters are from the comics or original, but we have the Engineer, who I had never heard of before this, but she is delightful. She has some really cool powers, and the visual effects used to bring them to life are pretty much seamless. And really, like, the visual effects are just kind of seamless overall. Like, if there were any seams, they were well hidden. For as little screen time as they have, I love this version of Ma and Pa Kent. The music is outstanding. Kind of like with the portrayal of Superman, it feels similar enough to the OG, but it's still definitely its own thing. We get some spins on existing lore. Certain characters have different motivations, and it makes for... It shakes things up a bit. So that's kind of cool. This movie's kind of a decon, like, as TV tropes would call it, a decon-recon switch of just the optimistic and trying to save everybody version of Superman. Where, yes, it shows that there can be consequences when you act without consulting anyone, but at the end of the day, he's doing it to save people. When he lets Lois interview him, and then she starts taking it seriously, and he gets defensive, it just boils down to people were going to die. Thank you, James Gunn, for understanding this character. My score is 5 out of 5. Hey everyone, what's your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. If you don't like the video, tell me why and try to be constructive. Then subscribe anyway. You'll be notified when I upload a new video. Watch that and tell me why that one sucks or why it's good. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.